Hello, and welcome to Extra Connections here on JLJ Media. I'm James Lott Jr., the JLJ of JLJ. Say that 5 times fast. It's me. I'm here. I always talk to you, bring you people who are doing amazing things. Now, I have to laugh because I'm gonna admit something that I'm just like, I don't eat popcorn or popcorn adjacent products, but this I can't stop eating it. My favorite is the peanut butter cup and the chip Zell Pop. I mean, I'm telling you,
That's the one.
I can't stop eating. I
Yeah.
can't stop eating it. My mother was asking for me to find some funky chunky at some store the other week. Then 3 days later, my guy here, Doug Hess, you guys know him, does several shows for us, had reached out to the company. I did not know this, and they've been so wonderful and so great. And sent us some pride. I did an unboxing video. Check that out. Which I think you saw it, or did you? Oh no, I don't see you seen it. Anyway, so we love this. We love this stuff. I can't stop eating it. My mother can't stop eating it. We all can't stop eating it. So I have the CEO, folks. He started this company. He worked for other Fortune 500 companies. He was in the military. He was about all of that. But he's now got Funky Chunky, my new friend, Ryan Quell. How are you, Ryan?
Good. Nice to see you, James.
I see you too. Again, thank you for your service in the military. I always say,
Thank
like to
you.
say that. I always say, I can tell them another show, give them anything. Whatever you need, give it to them. Give it to them. They should, you guys, support our country. So that's that. But I just want to first start and say, how are you?
Good. I'm good. It's a nice day outside. I'm obviously in my home office here, which is usually how I spend my days, unfortunately. But I'll be getting outside probably sometime after this. I hope so.
So you
You
have no
know,
windows in your room anywhere? No?
I do. I have a couple which I keep closed for various reasons, but the major one is I don't want to see how nice it is outside. So while I'm working, I think it's just I get jealous, especially with my kids. They run around in the backyard, and I'm like, I just want to get out there. And I'm like, I got to work.
Now
So
we see my windows are behind me. So if I had
yeah,
a window in front of me, I'd be like this all day.
yeah,
Yeah, so they're behind me. So
exactly. Yeah.
I understand that. So this company is born during the pandemic, basically, isn't it?
You
It's
know,
born.
it's actually been around for quite a while, but like in its latest iteration, it's been through a couple iterations and and a couple owners, so to speak, right? I took it over probably about 4 or 5 years ago.
Okay.
So just prior to the
Yeah.
pandemic. And it was, it was just kind of in a different spot. They were going after different things and it looked different, right? So I've kind of recreated it into my own thing over the last 4 or 5 years. And it's been fun to see the evolution of it and the brand and the reaction of people, so to speak. I mean, like you were talking about earlier, there's a lot of people that I think historically haven't eaten popcorn, and it's a growing category, so there's a lot more people starting to come into it. But our stuff isn't really normal popcorn, right?
No, it's not.
And so I say that to a lot of people, and it's one of my favorite things to do is watch people open up a bag, right, and take a bite of it. And it's this, like, I have this ethos of just my personal ethos, which is, under promise, over deliver.
Yes, I like that. I like that.
And
Yes.
the product tends kind of represents that, right? I mean, you
Yes.
open it up and you're expecting like chocolate covered popcorn, and then you have it and you're like, wow, this is something completely different, right? So
Yeah.
that's just it's a fun product and it's a fun brand. So yeah.
Yeah. He said it right. I thought it was because my mother mentioned it to me because she loves it. So she had to do about it first. So your marketing's working because she knew
Yeah.
about you guys. But I was like, she likes a lot of snacks. And so, but she's also a popcorn person. But
Mhm.
we like sweet and savory together and they're things together. And she was like, no, James, you gotta try this.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm in. Like,
Yeah.
seriously, when you bite into it, I'm getting the chocolate, I'm getting the peanut butter,
Yeah.
even more so than the actual pop. The popcorn is kind of the air part of them.
Yeah. It's just
Like,
it's kind of it's the vehicle for us to get chocolate in your mouth, basically. Right. I mean, we use it's a unique kind of caramel corn that we use, right? So it's not that brown sugar, molasses, really heavy, dark caramel corn that's out there. It's a light snacking kind of caramel corn. And we do that for a reason, because then we drizzle chocolate over it because that's a little bit heavier. So we want to make sure that it's snackable still, right? It's in that salty and sweet kind of arena. So people, people really, really connect with it and enjoy it, and that's all you can ask for when you create a product and you send it to people. We basically live our lives trying to make people happy, right? I mean, whether it's the products or the gifts or how we deliver it and all our service, we spend all of our time. I told somebody the other day, everybody in our company is in customer service. I take customer service calls to this day. I still take, I take one right before we started talking,
Really?
actually.
Oh wow.
Right? And people are surprised that the owner is still,
Yeah.
is answering the phone, right? But it's important. It's core to what we do, right? So
I got mentioned. I'm sorry, I got mentioned this because this
yeah.
one, my mother wanted it,
Yeah.
and I said, oh, well, let's just try one for the unboxing or whatever. Just try it. And then I was like, you can't have it. You only sent me
Yeah.
one. This one, folks, I'm telling you, sweet Jesus. It
Yeah.
is popcorn, potato chips, which I do love,
Mhm.
pretzels, caramel with this chocolate drizzle. It's crazy. I'm like, I'm 54 years old trying to lose weight. And then I eat this and it tastes light because it tastes light. I mean, it's not heavy at all. But I'm telling you, it's just, oh my God. It's just, I mean,
Don't get me wrong. I mean, like, listen, our stuff is not. We don't target better for you. We're not going to sit here and tell you it's it's going to be everything in moderation, right? Is
yes.
good.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
But I mean, our product it's popcorn still, right? So
Yeah.
it's
Oh yeah.
still
Not too bad. No.
it's pretty light in calories for what it
Light in
is.
sodium. It's light in sodium.
Yeah.
It's light in carbohydrates. It's just a little high in sugars, obviously, because
A
it's
little
getting
high, yeah,
sugar.
yeah.
You know
But
why? But another area, so you're right. The calories, it's not that big in calories either. It really isn't.
no, it's a decent snack, and the chips on that thing. If you get one of those chips, and they're covered
Yes.
in chocolate, oh.
Yes.
So I've been trying with the team to figure out how to get just chips, right, covered in
Oh,
chocolate. But we have to figure out how to package it so we can get it to people without it being all broken, because it's a pretty delicate. When it's in the mix, it's a little easier to
right,
stabilize, right?
right. I guess you're right.
But on its own, but it's like my holy grail. It's my white whale
Well,
that's
I'll
out
tell
there, right?
you, I'm pushing for you to get there. I'm like,
Yeah, at some point I'm gonna get there. Yeah. So
oh my God, you need a taster? I'm right here. I'm like, I'm right. Send us to
yeah.
California real quick, James. See what you
I
think.
think that's our biggest application. We get emails all the time. It's like, if you need to hire a taste tester, like, let us know.
I believe it. No, it's really good. So, okay, I kind of go back a little bit. Um, so you are actually working in high levels in other like Kraft Foods and other companies, Honeywell stuff. So, what made you decide to go from that to actually right? Because I run a business, right? We were
Yeah.
like that's where. What was that decision like?
Your career takes you in places that you don't necessarily expect it. I mean, I'll tell you this, like 10 years ago, this is not where I thought I was going to be in terms of, owning and running a chocolate popcorn company, right? It's funny, I was working for a billionaire who actually owned this company before I did. And so, at one point or another, I decided, hey, this is a really great company, and I'd like to own it, if he, was willing to sell it to me. And he was, really very gracious about, giving me this opportunity, and Tony, because I was running it for him,
Oh,
right,
okay,
for a
okay,
number of years. So I left Kraft and I started working for him. This was one of the companies I was running for him.
yeah.
And so I kind of, when I first, it was funny because when I interviewed with him, I was like, you shouldn't have bought this company. I don't know what you were thinking. Right. And so I kind of recreated it, into what I thought was going to be a really attractive kind of business and product, and, things that people would really connect with and enjoy. And over time, eventually it became mine. Right. I just didn't own it. And so when he was willing to sell it to me, I took that opportunity, right? And that's how I ended up, just kind of out of luck to a certain extent, owning it. Don't get me wrong, it's stressful. It's, running a small business. It's like everybody, especially when you don't have a billionaire behind you, right? And you're on your own, and I'm not a rich individual, right? Is that, you're up at night, worrying about your employees and making sure that everybody's got a job going forward. And when things go wrong, there's not a lot of room for error, so to speak. So we do, I think, a really, really nice job. I have a really great team, a really great set of employees. We try to treat them fair, right? We give, we pay for healthcare for everybody, 100% if they pick the HSA plan. We pay a living wage. We do things that a small business normally wouldn't do, but I just feel, especially, I think this comes from my military background, right? It's just, you care about the people that you work with. You care about the team, I think, on a deeper level, and not to, say that other people don't. I think it's part of the culture, right? When, especially from the Army, right? You just are, making sure that you're taking care of the team. You eat last, right? You get paid last, right?
Yeah.
You make the sacrifices you need to make sure that your team is good, because they're the ones that are actually making this into what it needs to be and providing the products to the customers that, like our stuff. So
I want to tell you, because no, your staff has been wonderful.
uh,
I dealt with them first when we got to you, and they were very nice, and they got back to us right away. And so I could personally say, as a testimonial, your folks did got back to Doug right away. He got back to me. We got to you, and this interview we set up. It was like pretty quickly. So I mean, it was pretty quickly. So you are doing something right, because people forget it is. I mean, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for people watching my stuff. You wouldn't be here if nobody bought this stuff.
yep.
It's like we have to remember to cater to the fans, to the followers, to the customers. Like that's kind of what you're trying to do. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like be a great salesman. That's great, but if you don't show them, and your employees too, when you treat them well, then they feel ownership, like you say, and then they want to do better also.
Yeah.
That's
But
a, yeah.
we only have one rule within the company, and it's no a-holes, right? We legitimately, we say it all the time, right? We hire people that we like to work with. We make sure in the interview process that, that we make it clear that, like, who you work with and who you work for, right, is really important. You're going to spend a lot of your time in your lives with these people, right? And you want to make sure that it's enjoyable, right? And that they're, treating you well, treating you with respect, right? Doing all those things. It's understated. I think a lot of people give a lot of lip service to it. But we try to live up to it. I mean, I think there's a lot of things that we could be doing. We work on sustainability. We try to do things we put in LED lights. We do the things that we can within our means, right? That are good for not only the environment, but for society in general. We support the MS Foundation when we can. We're looking for other nonprofits to support as we go along, because we're a giving company, we're a gifting company, right? And so not only a popcorn company, but a gifting company. And so we like to give, like we like to say, you give, we give, right? Kind of deal. And so we try to do something beyond just making money, if that makes sense, right? Making money is important. We got to keep the business running, right? And to get it into more people's hands, we got to make more money to make sure more people know about us. But the reality is that, if you're not giving back in some shape or form, I think you're missing a big portion of why organizations, whether it's a for-profit company, or anything else, exists, right? So
that's how JLGBD is, and we're the same way. Like we will, like I said, we offered to do a video for it. We were shot. I did a reels. We're like, it's like we can make friendships and we can make connections, and you never know, as we both grow, anything's possible between the two of us.
I'm looking forward to your Joe Rogan contract, right? So that way I can be on there and ride that wave.
Yes, we cross. I told you, when it comes to veterans, I'll bring you guys anywhere. That's exactly right. I'm trying to get with Oprah. I'm trying to get with Oprah. No,
there you go.
Things like that. So exactly. But seriously, I always tell people you should always make connections. And you never know where someone, especially in these day and age, someone who was a lowly assistant could be the person stopping you from your next big thing. I mean, that's how life. That's how life works.
I spend a lot of my days talking to other, especially veteran founders and veteran, run companies. I spent a lot of time on the investment side of the house in my past, trying to support those companies. And I spend a lot of time even today, talking to those companies. I'm part of an organization through Bunker Labs, it's called CEO Circle, where they bring all these veteran CEOs together because it's just a peer group. And frankly, running a company is a lonely thing. So talking to other folks that have not only that background of running companies, but like have a similar background to you from a military standpoint, like it's a unique thing, and it's a really kind of cool, connection building type thing. But I spend a lot of time talking to these folks, and you're right. It's like, you just never know what, how you can help them, how they can help you. Right. And, I think a lot of people spend a lot of time networking, right? rather than just kind of saying, hey, listen, I just want to talk, right? And find out what you're doing. I'll talk about what I'm doing. There's a match, great. If nothing, we just learned something, right? And that relationship it can be strong going forward. So just building that community. And we talk about that a lot with our customers, as within Funky Chunky, is trying to build that community of Funky Chunky friends and fans, right? And making sure that they stay that way for as long as they want to be, right? Part of it. So
Well, you got fans of JLJ Media. We're also my fan base. So I'm sharing with everybody out there too. So I mean, I want to make sure that, because I agree with you, the same thing. I call it the village mentality. So the whole
yeah.
village comes together. You hold each other up. You kind
Yep.
of each other up. That's the whole thing. And I think there are a lot of folks, in a great example, we came to you guys for one thing, but something else has come out of it. And I think
Yep.
that's just be open to the world. Again, timing is everything. You just never know what things
Mm-hmm.
never close. I don't close doors. I just don't close
Yeah.
doors. I
Yeah.
think that's advice if that's good advice if you're an entrepreneur, especially to
Yeah.
never just fully close doors. Just kind of, get the door cracked, a little
Yeah.
crack, and you just never know what might happen. So I mean, okay, I mean, some of your highs. You're a West Point graduate, so I mean that's like number one. That's just and then you went in the military. Are you? I get to ask this question all the time myself. Were you always an overachiever?
Kind of. Yeah.
I got no. I
Probably.
asked the same question. Like, well, did you have all these books? And no, like, I'm like, yeah, I guess I was kind. I mean, I was always so.
Yeah, I would say, I mean, ever since I mean, my parents were, extremely supportive. I mean, we weren't really well off when I was growing up. We had some challenges, but my father, my mother was obviously amazing and was a great, support, emotionally, and just like from a social, SEL standpoint of being just like a good individual, right? My dad was just kind of that driver, right? I mean, I'm half Chinese. He's Taiwanese, so he was just kind of on me all the time. It was that typical tiger dad, I guess, situation. So he kind of drove a lot of that from when I was younger, of that expectation of of expecting more from myself than I think my peers, I guess, to a certain extent. Over time, though, you start to find out that, like, you get to a West Point where everybody's that way, right? And you find yourself kind of in the middle of the pack, right? Or you exceed in certain things, right, but you're really not that great at other things relative to other people. So it's very humbling, right? I mean, I think I saw something. I'm on the school board here in my hometown, and our superintendent sent out a video about, and it was an economist talking about how being in a situation where you are the overachiever, you're at the top of your peer group, you tend to be you tend to throughout your life, you tend to overachieve, right? Versus folks that like are overachievers in high school and then end up in an Ivy League and they end up being in the bottom third, they don't do as well. It could be a confidence thing or whatever else associated with it. I actually think about it a little bit differently, of being in that situation and being self-aware about why you're in that bottom third, but you're not in that bottom third in everything, right? It might be just in these subjects, maybe academically, but in other environments within that thing, you can be better. For instance, I can't run worth a damn. Like, and anybody that sees this that knows me from the Army,
Hey,
I can't run, right? I
okay.
struggled with running. But you get me into an economics class or a math class or academically, I was killing it, right? So people would help out. They helped me out, coach me how to run and get me out on runs to get me in shape, and then I would help them out in the classroom and tutor them and try to help them out with their homework or tests. So
So you weren't a sports guy growing up?
I did a lot of sports. I did all the sports, just various, so I was athletic, but not, I wasn't going to get recruited anywhere.
Yeah,
Right.
and running is different, folks. I mean, running. I've done several marathons, and it's not easy.
Yeah.
Running track or running, that's different than playing football or basketball. It's
Yeah,
different.
I think some of it too in the Army, there's the PT test, right? And it's like,
Yeah,
for me, you have to do push up. At the time, it was push-ups and sit-ups and then run, right? And so sit-ups, and it's all technique, right? So you do sit-ups and your hip flexors are
right.
firing, and then you have to get up and go run, right? Yeah, that's just not, you're already fatigued, you're done. And the other thing at West Point is that there were some floods there in the last few days up in Highland
Oh,
Falls. in Southern New York. It was awful, right?
Oh wow.
But they were showing pictures of the PT track, right? That was there where you would run this 2 mile run, and it goes right by the water treatment facility, right? So you get this big whiff of sewage as you're running by, right?
Ugh.
So yeah, not my favorite thing in the world, but it is what it is. So
What is I actually want to ask you this because my godmother was Chinese,
mhm.
and she was very much heavily in my life and almost like a tiger mom. I called her
Yeah,
mom and everything. It's like so it was I understand the culture of all that. What is one of the things you've learned as because you actually are biracial? So
yeah,
what have you learned about navigating the world through that? Because I mean, you're kind of in
yeah.
between both worlds, so to speak, in the world.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I grew up in Los Angeles when I was younger, right? So it tended to be a little bit more multi-ethnic in general in terms of when I grew up. But it was in the 80s, so there was still a lot of like I just remember even in elementary school, there was like the Hispanic kids hung out together, the Asian kids hung out together, Black kids hung out
Yes,
together.
do that.
And then so, for guys like us, it was like, I had I don't look completely Asian,
Right.
right? So I could kind of fit, right, with the white kids if I wanted to. And the Asian kids knew, right, in general. But then when we moved when I was in middle school to Tahoe, to Lake Tahoe, and
Oh,
then
it's
to
okay.
Reno, and it was a little bit more homogenous, right?
Yeah.
And then it started to come out. There was a little bit of like, again, your kids, right? And so people were, they say names and using epithets and that kind of stuff, and they just don't know, right? Because
Yeah.
they're young, right? And so I had to deal with that a little bit. It's weird because you live in kind of in between worlds a little bit, right? And you can kind of I think I could fit more into the white community, which is strange, right? To say, like, especially where I've lived in my life. I lived in Louisville, Kentucky, and I lived in Georgia, and then I lived, here in Chicago, and I live in the suburbs in Chicago, right, which tends to be pretty homogenous. You're kind of on the outskirts, right, of everything. And I don't think people, when you're one ethnicity and you're living in one culture, I think recognize that, and especially when you're also a transplant, right? You're moving in, you didn't grow up there, right? Is the other thing, right? So
Yeah.
the combination of the two, you end up in this weird space, right, where you don't necessarily feel like you belong, right? And I think that's where the military came in for me, right? Once I got into the military, none of that really mattered. Nobody
Right.
really looked at. I mean, I don't think, and it's said a lot because I know at one point the military had a lot of those issues, right? When I was first getting in there in the 90s, I had a lot of
Oh
white
yeah.
supremacy issues, and and we've had to deal with that, I think, recently as well. Right. But when I was in, it just, we'd have a platoon and I'd have all these different races and of people and kids from different backgrounds, economic, socio, backgrounds, and none of that was discussed. It just wasn't a topic. We were really focused on one thing, and we became a group and we became a team. And we just had our 20th reunion for the invasion on Iraq in Savannah just a few months ago, and 20 years later there's still 200 people showing up. And it's like you think about social media today and you think about the politics and how divisive things can be, and all those people, like, I know we all disagree in certain political things,
Yeah.
quite vehemently disagree, right, on things.
Yeah.
None of that was a conversation. There was none of, and we all loved each other. We all hung out and spoke like it was like 20 years ago. Even with everything that's happened in the last 20 years, it's not a topic of conversation because it doesn't really matter to our connection and to our, and what our brotherhood is, right? So to speak. So I mean, I wish, I talk about this a lot when I'm on the school board. I wish somehow or another, we could find those purposes,
Yeah.
those things that matter to us, right, more than all of this other stuff, which I think tends to be more of a distraction than anything else, right? Um, so and that's what I tried to do with the company, right?
Yeah.
We're the same way. We're not all friends. Actually, we like to talk about that of like we don't really hang out outside of work.
Okay. Okay.
Um, because we like to get our work done and go spend time with our families,
Yeah.
right? But that's, in the meantime, while we're working, we have one single purpose, and that's all we really talk about. So
I like that, and I completely co-sign all that because I feel like because I have a group of friends who've known each other for I guess at this point since '94, like 28, 20, almost 20, almost 30 years. And we're
yeah,
different backgrounds, and again, we may disagree on certain things today, but we had a shared experience. And
Yeah.
I think we realize a lot of times we have shared experiences. That's
Yeah.
much more important than you're left-handed, I'm right-handed. I'm being
Yeah.
some, I'm just being crazy, but you know what I mean? Like, just it's not that. Does that really matter? And I guess when you're in the armed forces and you're trying to do your job,
Yeah.
um, you're dark brown or you're half this or you're quarter that means
Yeah.
nothing.
Yeah.
It
It
means
really doesn't.
nothing,
Yeah.
right? And we got to remember that kind of stuff. We got to really remember that. And I think it's in certain companies, same thing. If you're trying to build something, it's like you're all built, you're all swimming upstream. It doesn't matter
Yeah.
if you're a larger salmon or a smaller salmon. Like you're still going upstream. It
Yeah.
doesn't really matter. Some folks don't get that. I think it is distraction a lot of times. It's like
Well,
we
it goes back to our no a-hole rule, right? I
right.
mean, it's just it really is that, right? For some reason or another, I at least, and this is just my opinion, right? Somehow or another, it's been okay, like in recent years, to become an a-hole, right?
Yes, yes,
And it's not necessarily like, listen, you can be passionate about something and argue for a certain viewpoint or opinion, right? But it doesn't necessarily mean you have to be mean about it, right? Or mean spirited. You can argue those things and have an opinion without losing empathy, right, for the other person that you're talking about that you may disagree with. So I think for us, it's, within our business and with our customers, right, we tend not to kind of get involved in all of this other stuff that's happening. We really focus on, unless it's chocolate popcorn, right? Everybody loves chocolate popcorn. It's
yes,
meant for everybody,
yeah,
right? You
yeah.
want to give a gift, everybody loves giving gifts, everybody loves getting gifts, right? There's no reason for us, really, whether we have the opinions or not, to get involved in certain conversations or things. We support what we believe is right, right? But I'm not gonna shove that down somebody's throat, right? If they
No,
disagree,
no.
right? It's chocolate popcorn.
Chocolate
You know?
popcorn. I'm telling
Yeah,
you, you're good. And
yeah,
nutty, one of his favorites, nutty chocolate popcorn.
yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you actually a little about that. So there's a couple things I'm curious
Sure.
about. So I've never
Yeah,
been in the snack business because so how tough is it? Because like it's like you always say, you become a restaurateur. There's like
yeah,
8,000 restaurants that say so. Snack world, because I call
yeah,
it snack world. How
yeah.
tough is that?
It's hard. You can throw a rock and find another company that's doing another unique snack, right? There's a lot of founders out there that don't have my background of coming from craft foods and understanding the food space and manufacturing and costs and P&Ls and those types of things that are just came up with a great snack and started to create it. And all of a sudden they're like this ridiculously large company because they found something that really connected with the consumer, right? And found a way to talk to the consumer in a way that they were really engaged and really like it, right? But it's all founded upon like a really good snack, right? And I think people forget about that. So if you go, there's all these trade shows, right? Of like the Sweets and
Yes,
Snacks,
yes, they are. Yes,
fancy food, and all these other shows that you can go to get these snacks. And you'll run across stuff sometimes, and you're just like, you can tell that it was like some guy that had, millions of dollars that invested in something because like it was a trend and they're gonna get on. I'm not gonna call out anything specifically, but then you have a sample and you're like, that thing tastes like junk, right?
yeah,
And you're like, I can't believe they even did that. And so it all starts there. If you can find that, then you're good, right? Now that's just the barrier to entry. The reality is that you could have the greatest snack in the world with the greatest brand, the greatest packaging, and you can still go bankrupt, right?
yeah. That's true.
Um,
That's true.
you have to grind it out. You have to get lucky sometimes, right?
Yep.
And really listen to your customers and figure out what they want, how they're going to be engaged, how they want to be engaged, provide them the content, provide them the products, provide them the service. But, there's some luck that comes along with it. Like on TikTok, something blows up. I mean, like I was just watching this Sprite challenge last night because
Yeah.
I don't know why I find that hilarious, right? I
Yeah.
don't know what the lift on sales from Sprite on that
I
whole
don't
thing.
either.
I'm
Yeah.
sure there was something,
Yeah. I'm sure. I'm
right?
sure. Yeah.
Because it's all over the place. People trying to chug an entire bottle of Sprite and then can't, without burping. It's like, yeah.
That's,
But I
oh,
don't
man.
know. Yeah, but it's tough. It's hard. There's a lot of, and I would just say this to your viewers is that support small businesses, man.
Yes.
It's like the big guys, Frito-Lay, PepsiCo, like, all these guys, and I've worked for them, right?
Yeah, you did.
They
Yeah,
have
you did.
great people that are working for them. They're all families too and working hard, trying to bring good stuff. The reality is they don't need your money. They're going to get your money anyways, right? We need your money.
I like that,
Right?
right? That's so
So,
no, it's
yeah.
true. Support small business. I okay, so then okay, so you have your flavors.
Mhm.
And so we were joking earlier about you trying to figure out something. I was like, so is that the point that every few are you always kind of searching for the next combination? Or do you have a certain like 6 months? Now it's been 6 months you've had, so that's
Yeah.
been fine. Let's find another one. What's that process like?
Yeah, our strategy, I mean, really, we had those five core flavors, right? Sea
Yes.
salt caramel, peanut butter cup, chips all pop, nutty chocolate pop, and chocolate pretzels. We added birthday cake a couple years ago, right?
Oh, okay.
But we've been very cognizant of staying focused on what works, right? We're still a small company, so there's a lot of people that still don't know about us, and we can get their hands,
Yeah.
right? So that's what we've been focused on. That said, we have a whole list, right, of stuff, and we do test things out. So we bring stuff in the holidays. We have a candy corn pop and a pumpkin spice that's coming out in the fall.
Oh, okay.
We have a pepperminty choco pop and minty choco pop that's in the holiday season. And then we're working on just this is like I guess a preview, right?
Okay.
But we have that snacking caramel corn line. We're working to bring that. So that caramel corn that we have, that white, sugar caramel corn, it's
Yes.
really good. We're like, we should just sell that because it's really good, right? And then we could flavor it. So we're looking at churro, barbecue, spicy, right? Trying to go down that route too. So it's an ever moving target, if that makes sense, right? I
Oh, it
always
makes
get
sense.
we try a bunch of things and then all of a sudden we pull back and say we're going to focus on the core, right? Birthday cake was one of those things that really worked, so we kept it. So hopefully we'll launch a few more things and then one of those will work and then we'll keep that and then we'll move on to the next ideas. But we try not to launch too much. We don't want to be a popcorn company that has like 1,000 flavors. There's a lot of them out there, right? And
Yeah.
then none of them end up being very good because
Yeah.
they're just launching flavor after flavor. So
Yeah, I agree with that. Nothing wrong with being a smaller business either and staying smaller. I mean, you can
yeah,
grow and still be smaller. I mean, you can still like
yeah.
you offer these 10 things. That's all you need to offer. It's fine.
It's controlled. It's going back to like I'm not a billionaire, right? And so we got to do this in a controlled manner, right? Small team, limited resources. So we just got to make sure that what we do works, right? And that we do it within ourselves, so to speak, right? It's funny, companies will go bankrupt faster growing than they will the opposite direction, right? So
You have to be smart. You have to be smart when it comes to growth. I know. I just think it's amazing. It's you and I are both in doing things that we didn't grow up to do. Like
yeah,
it wasn't a possible thing. I mean, it wasn't even. I know it well back when we were growing up, there was no online,
yeah,
so this wouldn't even been happening. But the fact
yeah,
that I'm doing a media company, you're doing this delicious snack popcorn, gourmet popcorn. It's a trip, right? It's a trip. They're like this is
yeah.
what I do. This is what I do for a living. You
Yeah,
know?
it's like I spend all, I work remote out of my office. We sell stuff online. I mean, Amazon, I mean, I remember when Amazon sold books, right?
Yes,
I mean,
yes,
it doesn't even
you
sell books anymore, I don't think, right? I
right.
think they got out of the book market, right?
They do.
I mean, I was listening to somebody, another veteran, talk about AI, right? And how crazy that
Oh
is.
yes,
They were basically saying, hey, this is 1993, 1994. That was when the internet first started to get picked up and used, right? That's where they are in AI and how early we are in that thing and how much faster that's going to go. I think about it with my kids all the time that like they get on the VR stuff now, right?
yes,
They
yes.
don't watch TV, right? They don't do the
Yeah.
things that I did growing up. They don't even play that many video games, to be honest with you.
Oh
We have an
wow.
Xbox, right? They get on VR, but a lot of it's because it's social, right? Because they can talk to people. Like, imagine what that's going to look like. Forget about 10 years from now, 5 years from now,
I know.
right? And how that's going to impact us. And we think about that on the snacking side of the house. We have to, unfortunately. I mean, before it used to be you created a snack, you sold it in the grocery stores, right? Now it's like you create a snack and I can sell it on all these different platforms in different ways and TikTok shop and Facebook shop and all these different places,
Yeah,
you know? So
yeah.
it's crazy. So
Yeah, no, I'm glad you said that because the changing face of the marketplace.
yeah.
That's a major thing right now because before it was like big box retailers, this over here, and mom
Yeah.
and pop. You could do that still. I mean, it doesn't hurt you if you're in
Yep.
Ralph or whatever, Kroger or whatever. Or
Yeah.
what do you guys have? Jewel Osco. I know Jewel
Yeah.
Osco. Jewel
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
know, I know Chicago.
Yeah.
I love Chicago actually. But no, I would say yeah, sure, get a big box is great. Target, be great,
Yeah.
be wonderful,
Yep.
but you don't have to be
You don't
successful.
have to. In fact, that's how we've built this business, right? We are not in any grocery stores for the most part. Small independents, maybe, right? I mean, we are in TJ Maxx and Marshalls and
Which my
Hobby
mother
Lobby.
found you guys. That's how
Yeah.
she found you.
So
Yeah.
yeah, we're in, and a lot of these stores that are starting to build out. Like if you're in a store, most stores now have that little checkout aisle where they have
Yes, they
snacks and that
do.
kind of stuff.
Yeah.
We do really, really well there. I mean, that's a great business for us. But we built our business really direct to consumer, right? And it's great because that was the big thing when I took over this business was we control our manufacturing because we want to control our quality, right? We control our distribution because I want to control my quality and the experience that the customers have with us. I don't outsource our customer service, right? We have that internal, right? And then I control how we sell that to the customer. So we sell on marketplaces that I can control the experience and the pricing and everything else associated with it. That's something that you could not have done, forget about 20 years ago. 10 years ago it wasn't a thing for snacks, at least, right? The pandemic really, if there's anything I hate, obviously I wish that didn't happen, right?
Yeah.
But for this company, it was actually it really picked up business for us on the direct to consumer side.
Yes, I'm sure. Oh my God,
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Gotta eat your feelings at some point.
I get your feeling exactly. I said, no, I mean that makes sense to me. That all snack business probably went up during
Yeah.
the pandemic.
Yeah, and it's become a new buying, kind of a buying pattern, right? And it's a habit now that people like go on Amazon and say, I gotta, subscribe and save. I want these snacks to come to my house like every month or every 2 months, right? So yeah.
That's pretty good. Ron, I can talk to you forever. You're great. You're right. Seriously, you're great. I love the brand. We are now friends. We are all friends.
Yeah,
I love you
there you
guys.
go.
This stuff is not. This is no joke. This is no joke, people.
Yeah.
This is no joke. Funky Chunky is the bomb. I love it. We're gonna go for direct. Like I said, my mother found it in TJ Maxx, or
Yeah.
but we're gonna. I want to support your website, so we're gonna go direct.
We guarantee it, by the way. I'm telling you, I guarantee this stuff, right? So if you buy it from us and you don't like it, which is not gonna happen,
That's not gonna happen. That ain't
we'll
gonna
take
happen.
we'll take care of it. That's
I
my
guarantee it. I don't even work for a company. I
yeah.
guarantee. I'm like,
Yeah.
I told you, I don't eat this stuff normally. I
Yeah.
can't stop eating it.
Yeah.
But
Well,
that's your big endorsement. That's your big story right there.
You might want to take a little break. I'm just saying.
But he eats it.
Yep. So I have to go to the gym like 3 times a week just to keep, I'm still not there, but
yeah. I love it. So wait, so it says funkychunky.com.
Yep, that's right.
Funkychunky.com. So make sure you guys go there. Support a veteran business, own business, support small business, support Midwest business, whatever. Support them all. Yep. It's good. Funky Chunky is good. Thank you, Ryan, for being on the show.
Thank you, James. Appreciate it.
Welcome back anytime. Any new flavors come out, keep me posted.
Will do. Yep. You'll be the first one to get them.
That potato chip one, I'm waiting for that one. But I'm James Lott Jr. This is Extra Connections, connecting you with a great company with great snacks. Seriously, while you're sitting at home watching those 10 streaming services you have at home, because you all like me, I got Paramount Plus and Disney, but you got them too. You need these snacks with you to have with you while you're sitting at home watching your favorite shows and movies that are coming out. I'm James Lott Jr. Follow us everywhere at James Lott Jr. or JLJ Media on every streaming service platform and YouTube. We'll see you next time.